This conference will now be recorded.
There's two colors and a Dennis Corsi.
Okay.
I'm not sure who the
He's
other.
at Armstrong.
Oh, okay.
Matt, are you there?
Yes, sir.
All right.
You can hear me. That's good.
8:47. I'm calling the July meeting of the Airport Advisory Commission to order. Please call the roll.
Mike Easteritu,
Here.
Amy Jo Call, here. Sean Powell,
Here.
Mac McDonald,
Yep.
All right, we have a quorum. The agenda, I'll ask for an approval of the agenda with the exception of the minutes from July. Those minutes are not ready to be acted upon. So if I can have a motion on the agenda minus the approval of the minutes.
Also move.
I have a motion by Commissioner Call and a second by Commissioner Powell to approve the agenda without the minutes, without action on the minutes from July 15th. Any discussion or debate?
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Last meeting, we talked about having on the agenda a discussion point about the strategic planning.
You're right. It's not here. We'll discuss that. So on that matter, anything else on this? I'll ask for a voice vote of a yes or I approves the agenda without action on the minutes. A no or nay rejects it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, passes 5-0. Since we have skipped over the approval of the minutes, we are now on item 5. Mr. Christopher.
That'd be me. Next slide, please. Keep going. One more. Commissioners, good afternoon. Sorry for all the confusion, but we'll move forward. Start with my report on operations and passengers. So passengers, we set what I believe is probably a new record. I didn't have time to confirm it. In June, you look, the numbers we're looking at are a month behind because we haven't caught up from the trouble that we had with the last meeting and the changeover of staff. So next month I'll have the August and July numbers for you. But from June, we had 9,518 enplanements. That was when we added the third flight to Dallas, as you remember. So we jumped up from just a little over 6,000 in May of 21. Obviously a lot more than June of 20 because of the COVID downturn. Matt's chewing on his phone.
Yeah.
So year-to-date 2021 passenger enplanements are about triple of what they were in 20. That's pretty much what we expected. We're on track to hit very close to our normal enplanements of 60,000. Below that, you'll see the August schedule. It didn't change much from July, other than the July 4th day. The one thing I want to mention again on the Phoenix side in October, I believe it was the 7th, we'll be adding the third or second Phoenix flight. And that'll be a middle of the day flight. Next slide, please. Operations are up a little bit over June 20, about double. That's pretty close to normal for us, for a total of 15,870 for the year, about 2,000 more than what we had in 20. But as you may remember, in 20, even though COVID slowed us down in normal operations, we had a lot of airliners coming in, so that kept the numbers a little bit higher. Next slide, please. Revenues, flow fees are running about the same as they did in May. So around 5,100. You can see they're up from June. Again, that's due to in June more planes coming in than going out. For 21, we're at 41,000, which is about twice what it was for 20. Landing fees are running about normal now at 800. We're not really getting the extra planes in coming to store. They're starting to go out quite a bit. So we're running a little bit lower on landing fees. The big number in 20 of 57,000 was due to all the airliners coming in. Parking fees are about the same as they were the month before, 157,000, and about the same as they were the year before. But as you can see, the yearly total for 21 is about twice what it was for 20. So that's because these airliners have been here for the whole time. Next slide, please. Projects. Start with the Ascent project. The site plan has been gone over and agreed to between the city and Ascent. The survey work has been physically finished and is in the office side of it now. They're wrapping up the documents. Geotech has not begun physically yet, but they're looking at where they need to drill holes, and that'll be coming along here pretty soon. Armstrong is in the middle of design work. We've initiated a phase 1 environmental, and we are in the middle of lease negotiations with Ascent. Taxiway Alpha and Juliet reconstruction. The contract that's been awarded and the contractor is ready to go. We're negotiating a security agreement with TSA, and once that's agreed to, we'll begin the project. Baggage and makeup room. As you know, we were taking the wall out between the two baggage and makeup rooms. We've done some of that work. The wall still needs to come down between, but we've done the outside work by the counters. You'll notice if you're at the airport, there's a door between behind the two counters, an opening now where you can go between the closed counter and the one that American's using now. Next slide, please. And I'll hand it to Steve.
Okay. Really with new tenants, we don't, we're fielding calls. We're providing information as requested. We've had one potential investor give us a list of stuff that they want to see before they want to come back and invest, or actually engage in negotiation to invest. Right now, we're doing a lot of our cleanup. With the rains, we're having to mow a lot of more extra. So another thing that we've instituted is we're having to address some wildlife and health and safety issues. So parts that were being stored in the grass and stuff, we're requiring those to be moved so that we can get mowing done, aiming close to the aircraft, and then the MROs can take over. There's been an increase in snakes. Our crews have been killing, an average of 3 to 4 a day in some areas. So we did have a near incident with the aircraft and employees working around. So that's one of the reasons we are cleaning it up. There's other reasons as well, but the main thing is that we've got to mitigate the wildlife and the health and safety issues that are going on with that. We're still doing building repairs from the rains. We've done a lot of assessment, but again, it's getting the crews out there because there's other projects. So we're basically having to do the patchwork first, and then when we can get the actual the roofs that need replaced, we'll be getting people out on that. And airfield safety, we're again keeping the mowing down. We've remilled the south hammerhead with millings, and we're going to be oiling that so that we're in compliance with FAA requirements. And with that, that's it.
I'm sorry, I was distracted by my phone. Did you talk about 112?
Legal's advised us not to talk about it.
Okay. Fair enough. Let's plan on a closed session next month for the commission, because the commission needs to be briefed. We will do it in a closed session. Please make sure that Mr. Patterson is present. So that we can address that. You want to talk about yesterday's visit, Mr. Stark?
Sure. So yesterday, we had a visit from Senator Ben Ray Lujan. We spent about an hour with him and toured the airport. They had contacted us because they were interested in seeing what was going on. Obviously, we've made some news here and there, and so came down to kind of get the real scoop. And we drove him around and showed him the existing tenants and operations that we have on the airport. We talked about projects. We talked about where we want to go with the air center, including infrastructure and the terminal and business development. What a gem we have in the air center that is ripe for economic development and job creation. He seemed very receptive. He is inclined to begin to work with us on the things that we need to progress the air center. So in conclusion, really, it was a very good meeting. It was a very good meeting.
I will confirm that the senator's staff has subsequently reached out to me and said that they were very impressed with the air center. And I would say he was candidly surprised at what all we have going on out there. And for those who don't see it, don't have a clue what's really happening till you get it inside the fence. So we're hopeful we can get additional federal funding for infrastructure projects. We will see. Okay, you want to go on? Anything else for Mr. Stark or Mr. Christopher on these?
I missed mentioning our Mead and Hunt contract.
Oh,
I did want to mention that we re-upped with Mead and Hunt as our air service development consultant. That contract was approved through the July 8th council, and it's a 1-year contract with 3-year extensions based on performance. And as Mead and Hunt has really done a stellar job for us for the last 2 years, we're looking forward to working with them for the foreseeable future moving forward. The contract has not been signed yet. It's under legal review, but we should be signing that pretty quickly. And then I did neglect to mention, I know Sharon did it a while ago, but I wanted to mention we have a new staffer who's not new to the city. Lisa Bennett has been with the city for many years, but moved over from recreation, and we're happy to have her. So you guys are welcome.
yeah, you want to talk about your staff changes then? Because there's a couple others.
Yeah. So we did have Scott Massey resign. He decided that he wanted to go on and do something else, and I believe he's been hired on by the county. So we wished him good luck, and he went on. Denise Garcia, who was our newest member of our staff before she left, decided that she was not a fit for the job, and so she resigned to go on and do something else. Lorena Barunda, who you all know from these meetings, just moved to another position in the city. She moved over to the fire department to be admin for the fire department. So thus we put out all of the word that we needed, everything. We have 2 offers out for people to replace Scott Massey and Denise. Haven't gotten through that process yet, but we should be seeing some new people again in those positions in the next couple of months. And obviously Lisa took the one that Lorena had previously. Okay. But looking forward to a good, highly qualified and motivated team. I'm liking what I'm seeing as people come in and the interviews that we've had with folks. So it should be a positive change.
Any choice?
Just a question on the Mead and Hunt are they still under contract currently with us?
They're not at the moment.
Okay.
They're in between.
Thank you.
Yeah, that would expire, what, June 30th?
Yeah. So, but we can still, as long as it's under procurement numbers, we can still go month to month with them for a little while. So we're not changing anything, but when we get a new.
Because I would love to hear a presentation on what their plans are, since we've just re-upped them.
And we will be doing that soon as we restart the Denver stuff.
Yeah.
It may be next month that we do have him again in this group, but probably in the meantime, we'll start looking at getting some meetings going with the airlines and that sort of thing.
Well, on that point though, would it be more productive to wait till October?
Maybe. I'll discuss it with Jeff and see what he
Because
thinks.
if he don't have much to report, no sense in having him do something
Right.
in September, but I don't want to wait too long.
Right.
So if it helps him to wait till October, that's my thinking, because I agree with
we'll
you.
See.
That needs to be discussed, because, on that point, because we're talking about future agenda items, is that one of the things we keep talking about is trying to find partners in the area to help us with any kind of MRG to Denver. And I'd like us to be up to speed on that.
Yeah, and I think that's where we'll start having meetings sometime here pretty quickly. We had talked about doing it this month and I think both of our schedules have gone kind of crazy, so we haven't really got it done, but it is a high priority item.
Get a meeting together where we talk about it offline and talk about the strategy.
Yep.
to do that.
Yep.
Well, and we have to be careful. We can't have quorums offline.
That's true.
So-
However you want to do that.
But what I'm seriously thinking is you might end up getting volunteered for the lead role in that.
Is that voluntold, sir? Or? Just kidding. Just kidding.
Yeah, basically. That's what
That's what it sounds like.
That's what it sounds like. I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense for working with your colleagues in the other counties. And we can move forward with that. But I like the idea. If September is soon, if he has something soon enough and wait, this is August, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's possible we might have something by the September meeting, but
But if not,
kind of, yeah, we'll float it.
all right. John, did you want to chime in? No. Okay.
It'd be helpful to know the timing too, because we got to have some type of goal line or
Oh, yeah.
make sure we meet it,
For
right?
sure, for sure.
So.
The other thing too is Mr. Christopher reached out to American Airlines and we had some folks that were expressing some frustrations with air service. And I was impressed with that response you got from them. Do you want to share that with the whole group here?
Sure. Basically what happened is during COVID, well, it was pre-COVID, they had some retirement. So they were trying to backfill those positions. But since COVID's happened and with the way the retirement system's gone is they can't bring in enough backup pilots or reserve pilots. So what's happening is when they have an air crew come in and they're close to their cutoff mandatory downtime, flights are getting delayed until they can bring in another crew. So essentially what's happening is happening in the majority of their hubs. So, Roswell is not a specific target. It's all American flights, throughout the United States. So basically what they're saying is that they can't get the numbers. We're just like everybody else with COVID. So, and the other thing too is that they're really fighting to keep people from retiring because, okay, look at it, everything coming down, it's easier for people to retire. They don't have to put up with it. And right now, and I just looked at it today, they're offering like $16,000 sign-on bonuses for pilots and crew. So that tells you how desperate airlines are to get them in. So, and it was a humble thing is that we're being straight honest is that there's nothing we can do because of the pandemic. So.
Yeah, I thought it was a very candid response on their part and just the inability to keep or to recruit and keep critical personnel.
Mhm.
And that the other thing I saw in there was that they can keep it going if everything is going all right. But the minute you hit a glitch, then it starts to fall apart. And that's when you don't have a bench, it hurts.
And you got to look at it too, since we've seen it here, is like, American still has a lot of aircraft that they haven't put back in service. So with the aircraft that they're keeping in service, the more you're using those, the more mechanical issues you're going to have. So they're having to fix things. And that's another part of the delay too. But, and if you see a delay here, that's probably the majority of it is they're having a mechanical glitch and they're needing to get it fixed. So.
And it can ripple through the whole system.
Exactly.
Yeah, I appreciate you getting that because there are some significant players around the community that were very concerned. Gotta love it. Okay. Anything else? On these general topics?
Yeah, let me mention that yesterday, TSA extended the mask mandate for the airlines and the air terminals until January 13th. So with that done, unless you guys want to mess with masks at the terminal, I would just as soon continue to have this meeting here so that we don't have to deal with that. We can deal with whatever the city policy is and not TSA policy.
Yeah, it's actually a bigger room there here than it is there too.
Yeah, it is.
I like, it's more convenient for our tenants down here, but it's a packed little room. So just come up into town for lunch and hang around. There's an approach. Okay. Doghouse.
The doghouse, so that's a real short one again. I did talk with Jessica Falk at EDA this week, and briefed the senator on that yesterday. But the short story really is that it's still in their process. It's sitting in their legal department at this point, not been forwarded to headquarters yet. But she tells me she sees no hangups on it, and she won't know anything more until it comes back from legal. But at this point, the grant looks good. She says typically as legal's going through it, they'll contact her as they come across something to get answers, not waiting for a final report to get answers back. And so she sees no holdups at this point.
This is the EDA grant.
The EDA grant.
Yes, this was a topic of some discussion with the senator. I think this is going to be an area where the senator seems very receptive in my perception to helping us on that, because this is now 16 months old? Because we started this, Mike, when was it? Like,
I want to say April.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's been sitting there and it's 2.5 million is what we're looking at. And it's hard for movement on this without the 2.5 million. But full disclosure, we stopped at Hangar 84, and Bull Johnson from Cavu did make, I felt, a very good pitch on the value of large hangars. Now, of course, he's talking about for his company, but it resonates for everybody that the need is for large hangars and more facilities throughout. So
Yeah.
I'm hopeful we can get something moving forward on this one. Very frustrating, I'll be honest with you.
I'm surprised Matt McDonald isn't chiming in right now.
I don't think you heard.
Matt, can you hear us?
Oh, yeah. I hear you loud and clear.
All right. I just wanted to know why you haven't said anything about hangars yet.
Well, that's because right now I am up to my neck in hangars everywhere I look. I've got so many hangars available to me right now. I don't know what to do. I'm giddy with it.
Okay. And you are where again?
I'm in Mojave Airport, California. I just went to Victorville too. So I've been at both those facilities in the last 5 days.
Yeah, but do they have electricity?
Yes. Oh yeah, I'm looking at about right out in front of me. There's about 5,000 windmills that aren't spinning actually right now. So I don't know if they have electricity or not. They may not right now. But,
Okay.
Mojave has about 8 large hangars here. I think a couple of them are 747 capable. And then they also have a large infrastructure of shop facilities and warehouses. They probably have 100, maybe 200 buildings. There's of course, there's all the testing facilities that are here. There's BAE, and then there's a big composite facility here called Scale Composites, has about 6 big warehouses that they are operating in. So it's not a bad place, really. I know they charge, the airport will charge you $1,000 a month to park an airplane on the airport. If you go over to the teardown facility, it's where I'm sitting at right now with all the big airplanes around me, it's about $800 a month to park on that ground.
Wow.
So it's
what a deal Roswell is.
Yeah, we have some advantages and we have some disadvantages, I've learned. Victorville has really, since the last time I was there, has really expanded. They've got 15 large hangars, maybe, and maybe I'd say about 15 hangars the size of 84 and 85, about that range, and then they've got another 10 very large hangars that are there, and they also have about 5 giant tilt-up building complexes that have been put in. So Boeing's there, GE's there with their facilities. Ave is there. It's got probably 4 or 5 large hangars. And it looks like they expanded their storage capability too, because they've got a lot of airplanes there like Roswell does.
Okay. Very good. Let's, anything
So
else
large,
on, go
large
ahead.
hangars is the key. Large hangars are the key, and warehouses, shop space.
Okay.
With an A.
Moving on to number 8.
The Flat Lounge, we've got some interested parties that are coming in. We're getting pricing and negotiating together. The one concern that we're having again is putting a tenant in there and then another shutdown. So we're still pursuing, and one company in particular is aware of the potential, but they have enough other business to where they feel that they can take that chance. So that's the one that we're hoping to secure. They're also under a CES, so, or not, yeah, CES and then the other state entity. So this is the one that we really hope to work out, because they can do it all in one too. They can do our vending and they can do the bar and the restaurant side. So that's the one that we're really hoping for. So,
Okay. What's the timeline on this?
they just came today. They told us that they have something in 2 weeks. So
Okay.
we could look at it. And then the other one, we haven't heard back from. So we're trying, but again, the key is we don't want to set somebody up for failure to where they're coming in and then they open and then they have to turn around and shut down. If we do that again, that's not going to be conducive. So
It's going to be nightmare. We get shut down again.
I agree. But I think we got to be fair to our potential tenants or partners, which I would pursue. I'd rather have a partner as a tenant, but we've got to be fair to them and kind of look at that, make sure that we don't set them up for failure.
Yeah, we'll negotiate the start time based on the conditions.
Hey, Steve.
Go ahead.
So all the airports I've traveled to during this pandemic, all of their restaurants, majority of them stay open. What's preventing our flight lounge from staying open?
The current provider is pulled out.
Yeah, I understand that. But if a new one was to come in, what's to shut them down if we're still operating flights?
The governor.
Lack of traffic.
Yeah, it would be lack of traffic.
Or
Okay.
the governor closing restaurants.
Right.
Or just say no to the governor. I don't know. That's kind of my thought.
Thank you.
All right.
Stick to hangers.
Okay, another update next month?
Yep.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Item number 9. Mike Garcia.
Sure. All right, water line. Water line's going well. Talked to Lewis.
We have some PowerPoint slides on this. Okay.
Talked to Lewis, and he's really, he likes what he's seeing, and it's going very well. The hydraulic modeling, that's to determine the size of the pipe or the water line. That's in progress. That will be completed and to the city. We're hoping by late August or early September. The water line drawings, those were submitted to the city on July 30th. So Lewis, in our discussion with them, he's already commented on the drawings. He sent those to the utility director, and his comments should be ready this week. So we should get those back from the city. And then once we get all those comments, we digest them, and then we're going to ask for a meeting if there's anything there that's kind of weird to us, but we don't foresee any issues with any of the comments. So everything's looking good on the drawings. And then the final submittal, it's tentatively planned for late September, which Lewis is tracking as well, and the utility director. So everything is on schedule. Everything's looking good. There aren't any major glitches right now, so everything so far is tracking.
So this final submittal will be a designed can go out for bid for construction.
Once we get the final submittal, Lewis and the utility director will make sure everything is what they addresses all their comments and issues. And then once we get Lewis's permission, we're gonna head out to bid.
Okay. And so so when you say hydraulic, we're talking about how big is the diameter of this pipe going to be?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But we've got the route or path
Yes, sir.
held down. Okay. Would have liked to have seen that.
When we can get you. For the
Okay. Let's make sure when we do these.
It's gonna be a straight line, but we'll definitely get you something.
Okay. To show where we're going with this. Okay. All right. Any questions about the water line project? Okay. Next month, as pointed out by Commissioner Espiritu last month, a number of the commissioners here, I think basically everyone, expressed an interest in having strategic planning on the agenda. And obviously we didn't have it on the agenda. So let's talk about that as a future agenda item. Do we want to add in a little bit on this?
Well, great presentation by General Murray back in June. I know that we've been talking about having a path forward. Just like to see what the plan for the plan. You don't start, we'll never get through the journey to the end. And again, it does a disservice for staff if they don't have an opportunity to see where they need to be moving forward, where they need to be proactive versus reactive. So what I'd like to see, sir, is what is our plan to get us moving forward? And I'm not sure what that means yet. Maybe that's something that Scott and his team can provide some recommendations. But we need to do something versus just nothing.
Okay. Commissioner, oh, you want to chime in?
Well, the last time that Jeff Coleman did his presentation on this subject, the commission has completely changed. So I don't know if we go back to square one and have another presentation.
No, here's where I'm coming from on this, and this is what I want to throw out, is that one of my struggles has been is before we go forward, where are we? And by that, I mean, what are we? And Mr. Garcia's comment, I think it was in June, about the 139 and it being the all-encompassing concern of the FAA is the air service. Nothing can interfere with that. But air service, as important as it is not the primary economic driver of Roswell Air Center. I would say it's MRO. And it's full, everything from painting to tear down. And then we have these niche operations, the testing and the flight training. And then what else do we have? So this has been my struggle is, are we truly unlike any place else in the sense that we have all of this happening on the same place? In other words, I don't believe, and we hear about the advantages of Victorville and Mojave with MRO operations, but they don't have to deal with scheduled air service. And what does that mean? I mean, where do we go with our terminal? How we have so much going on, in my estimation, that how do we identify?
Examining and answering those questions is part of the strategic process. We don't have to have that figured out because it's part of that. That's where it begins. Whether it's with a consultant or whether it's in-house, we don't have to have that, defined before we begin the process, because that is the process.
Okay.
In my opinion.
No, I
Agree.
And I concur. And I guess where one of the reasons why I keep struggling with this and I'm evolving with it is my head is, what truly are we? And the training with regard to the airframe and power plant school. And at the same time, At the same time, we're dealing with serious issues of infrastructure being dealt with, whether it's certain warehouses or the need to do the upgrades to hangars or building new hangars or building water lines. We're the proverbial building the airplane while it's in the air mode in some ways. And so what I'm struggling with is, okay, what is our next step? What do we do in September?
Well, we should have a facilitator. We should begin the process of creating a plan and outlining all those items you mentioned. Because that truly becomes where we're headed.
I think we should use Armstrong. My personal opinion is that we need professional guidance.
Okay, you mean this Armstrong?
Well, this,
Oh,
what Jeff did a year and a half ago, they do that for a living. And I think that we need the professional help. That's my 2 cents.
Dr. Powell.
Well, I was just going to say, as you develop that strategic plan, the first steps would be defining the mission and the vision. I think those would answer your questions. What are you? What are we doing? What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses?
well, that to me, the mission, was it vision? Okay, that's,
Again, a professional will start from the very beginning and walk us through all of those decisions, all of those conversations.
And my thoughts is on that is the process. As we go through it, the process is just as important as the finished product. Because we're sitting here talking about some of these things. So maybe the process is more important, let's say that. Because the finished product, you can do that with, and I hope we never do, but that's not the intent. But part of that process, as Amy's saying, having someone who's done this before, in my mind, specifically with airports, because airports are unique. And I've said it many times, you've seen one airport, and that sort of goes to your question of who are we? We've got all this mix. The truth about other airports is they have mixes too. They're diversified as well. Even general aviation airports, some have golf courses and country clubs and those type of things, where we don't have that. But the mix is different. So the mission and the vision are different. But I think that's where the professional, whoever it is, comes in and is someone with no dog in the fight, but understands the process and facilitates well for us to decide that. And as we go through that process, then we learn more about who we are as an airport. I think that's why I say I think the process is as important as the finished product. Like a finished product is a book, it's a paper. If we don't pay any attention to it, we can ignore it, which hopefully never will. But
now, see, this is where I'll disagree. I'm less concerned about the process, more like, what are we going to do? To me, that's the product. The product is, what do we do tomorrow?
Agree.
What do we do next year? What do we do in 5 years?
Agree.
But that's what we discuss in the process.
Right. That's why the process is
during the process, but the objective is to be able to identify, what are we doing next month?
Correct.
What are we doing next year? And what are we doing in 5 years? I don't care how messy that process is,
right,
or whatever. I want us to make sure we know where we're going. And that's, to me, is the ultimate objective here.
I agree. But the other piece that we come out of with this type of document, this type of plan, is we come out with a process to help us decide the future. I mean, we're going to go through stuff if we go through this now and come up with 5, 10, 15, 20, whatever. But then we also come out with a document that guides us through the next thing that comes up and we want to decide on. That's part of it, is we develop that process of making those business decisions. That's the guidance that Steve and I keep talking about that we want. And if it comes from all the stakeholders, that means a lot more.
And going back to the point here, I believe this commission has the diversity, I hate that word, by the way, diversity of this community to do the proper planning. I mean, we've got the 5 of us here, I think, represent pretty well the key stakeholders in this community. with connection to the air center. So I'm comfortable with this group now. So you've heard from Commissioner Call. Do you have any doubts what you need to have set up for September? Or is that too soon that we bring in a consultant? Can we bring them in that soon, or do we need to wait till October?
If we're going to make a commitment, that was 100,000, I think. Do you remember? It's in that proposal. So we'll have to go through a procurement process because it's over 60. So we'd have to do that. We could restart and have a reintroduction, as Commissioner Cole said. But otherwise, we probably just need to make sure that we're ready to go forward with council approval and so on and so forth.
I would suggest that maybe the team provides some recommendations, and then we can decide on how we want to pursue that. You know, which company that we would like to possibly engage with, because there may be some other opportunities that may be less expensive.
Sure.
We just don't know yet, so.
Are you good with that?
I'm good with it. I really believe we need professional help.
Okay.
We need a consultant to walk us through the process.
All right. So
But I was there when Jeff did the presentation.
I got you. You were impressed.
I was impressed.
Okay. So that being said, you get together with Mr. Stark and help him with that.
Sure.
Because I'm going to be beating the snot out of you, using you for productive
It
stuff.
works both ways, sir. Just saying.
No, I'm already beaten to the ground. Okay.
I'd be happy to.
And why don't you, see, the two of you can talk and it's not a quorum. So if you can, we got to worry about that stuff. So if you would work with Commissioner Call as
Absolutely.
well. And maybe the three of you guys get together and work out exactly what we do in September. I would like that. I would appreciate that.
Provide some alternatives, I think, is really the goal for September, and then we go from there. Because then if it goes to a budgetary concern council, then we know what the next steps are.
If we can get under 60, we do it without going to the council. The city manager has ability to enter into professional services contracts without a competitive process up to $60,000.
Logistical question, if we pursue this and come up with a document, do we adopt it? Does that have to go before the council?
We recommend council with, it depends on whether,
Can we do it on the QT? I'm just kidding.
no, I'm not able to give you a good answer right now because I'm inclined to believe eventually the governing body has to bless any kind of plan because of just the way we're structured as a municipality. That being said, I don't see the council pushing back on this group. It would probably be better if someone other than myself made the presentation to the council. But anyway, we can work
I think
that.
we can work that out when we get to that point.
I just wondered logistically, policy-wise, how it.
Yeah, the governing body. Now, one of the other things that I'm kind of interested in too, because in many ways it all comes down to dollars. I alluded to this in an earlier email on a different topic that Mr. Christopher and Mr. Stark got, is where are we with regards to capital funds for Air Center? And what I'm talking about here is we've got all this federal money that's floating around out there, some of which has been approved and we've already incorporated into our budget. Some of it may be in the pipeline because the senator talked about the infrastructure. There's talk about, American Rescue Plan. There was some airport money that was separate from the general money, which, and Mike's over there nodding his head. And yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about. But I don't really know what all we've really got. And I, this might be something Mr. Fuentes does rather than you guys. Not that you're not capable, but I'm just saying it's kind of in the budget house because we got some money for operations under the CARES Act, which we merged into the budget that we adopted and then moved out of the original budget into capital, what we had originally planned to use for city money or air center money. And then like, for example, we got 1 point something million so far this year for parking fees. What all can we use that for? So that's where I'm kind of going with this is to, it kind of goes back to my point is what are we? It's not only what are we doing, but what do we have in the bank? What can we do? You know, so to me, that's part of the whole, I'm not saying this very well, but it's part of the whole definition of what's our capabilities, what's our needs, what's our vision, what's our mission, that kind of thing. And then I do want to do the discussion in closed session with there's potential litigation. So that the commission here, that would be good to be here. Then we can bring in Patterson. And then you have to sign an oath of secrecy, by the way, in blood.
Sure.
You don't look impressed.
I would do it. I would do it.
Okay.
But Matt's not saying whose blood.
Your blood. It's got to be your blood. All right, go ahead. Commissioners, your two.
Mr. Chairman, so one other thing maybe for discussion at the next meeting is marketing the air center. And maybe it's just because I don't know. I'm not saying it's a poor job or a great job. I don't know. One thing I've noticed after recently flying into our air center is we have nothing that talks about Roswell for incoming people in our own terminal. When you go to another terminal, at another airport, you see stuff. So my question is there a plan or something we can help? Again, I don't know if there is a.
No, I think that's
structure.
I think that's a great.
Because when visitors come here to Roswell, we want them to stay here, but they need to know why they
That's right.
should be here. You know, I don't want them to see the signs for Ruidoso. I mean, that's not a bad thing, but
No.
I want them to see Roswell stuff. Because that puts more heads in beds and puts more time in our restaurants and blah, blah, blah. And I think that's just great for the tourism trade.
Okay, well, I'm going to go out on some thin ice here. I know it shocks everybody. But one of the concerns I have is that is the air center team where you guys need it, or do you need some other people? You need to, and I'm not looking for an answer right now. I'm just, where I'm going with this is, I think to address your issue, if our guys are worrying about making sure the toilets flush and the weeds are knocked down on the ramp, let alone outside the ramp, who then takes care of making sure the screen above the baggage claim has got the right message, not just working, but has a message which is valuable.
It isn't.
Come on, Larry, we'll get to you.
No, I know, I know the answer.
We'll get to you.
Okay.
But you see, and because I think this is also becomes part of the vision and mission thing is what are the slots we need? This is where this gets so huge. This becomes the elephant we're going to be eating one bite at a time.
Yeah, I think as you work, if you tie it to strategic business, vision, mission, all that, as you work down, part of those action items is hiring staff, determining what that organization looks like and hiring that staff to support what you've developed over here. So you're right on. What is that? Yeah, I can't answer that 100% right now. I can tell you what we do now. We have marketing folks in the city that do that work. But is that the right way to do it? I couldn't answer that question.
Well, okay, so this is part of the discussion I want us to have is, what does this team look like within the understanding that this is ultimately a city manager decision, but maybe we make a point to see if Mr. Nebb can participate next month when we have this discussion. And we can't, by city ordinance, we're not even the council doesn't take personnel actions. It's going to be up to the city manager to build the team. But I think the value of this group and this commission is to air out what are the concerns, how well are things working.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Christopher.
With that is, so I'll go down when some of the flights are and I'll start talking to people, what their impressions are and everything. Because that's where we're going to get the true concept. We can sit in here, but what we need to do is go down and talk more to the passengers flying in and out. And this is what I get is when they fly in and it looks like a junkyard and, we're keeping a list now, but, a lot of people point out, planes that are scuttled sitting on the edge of the, first thing that they see is a scrap plane, and then they see parts littered along the line as they're taxiing in. And we're taking the steps. So basically what happens is we're scratching that scab. So when we scratch that scab, it's going to get deeper and deeper. So, one of the things that we were getting complaints about, for example, is the airport. The terminal didn't appear clean. It wasn't that, so we've changed the janitorial service, and now we're getting compliments again, right? So people are coming in saying, I've been flying out of here for years. This is the cleanest it's been, right? So now we're getting the positives. But the other thing that we're running into is I can't tell you what we need on staff wise, because when our equipment goes down, where we may need 4 staff, if we had the appropriate equipment, we may only need 2. So like we're replacing our turbo motor or mower because it had a 10-year life. We got 20 years out of it. So now we're pushing to get new equipment in. So what I'm saying is, and then we just had this conversation with Joe this morning, is we can't really tell you what we need until we get what we need to move forward. So with that is we got to talk to the people coming in. Another thing that I hear is that, it's great if we start talking about Roswell, but if people are coming in and then they're going to the tourist attractions and they're coming in on the weekends and everything's closed, it's one of those things where it is needed, but we can advertise in Roswell, but if it's not open or it's not accommodating the people when they're here, when it's convenient to them, then that's not the air center. This is a different issue. So with this plan, and understand that all growth comes from air centers. So as this grows, the city grows, the county grows, and everything else. So when we're doing that plan, we also have to be prepared to engage other things at the same time. Because if we don't, then we're setting ourselves up for failure. So, that's what we're doing now is we're cleaning the air center up because that's the only thing that we have control over.
Right.
When we get that clean and presentable, then everything's going to come to fruition. But I can tell you right now is, we've got 5 people and we're running them into the ground. I mean, we've got them mowing until they're tired. So yes, we need more than 5 people, but how many that is, I don't know. But we're taking step at a time. So
On that, now my thoughts too is maybe we don't necessarily talk about staffing needs. Maybe a better approach back off is to what needs to be done, not how many people, but do we, for example,
What the work is.
what is the work? What needs to be
We can do
done?
that.
Do we need to have, and I'm making this up, so don't get too locked in on this. Do we need to have the monitors, flat screens in different places with message changed every 30 days? I'm just pulling up stuff here, but I don't know what all we want to do. I mean, I can see something and go, hey, we should do something different here, but it doesn't mean it's what we really should do.
I think that's one thing we should do. We're already doing that with a few screens. And that's one thing we should do. We should have media that's running constantly that talks about us and says how, what the things are to do, why you should come stay, that type of thing. But then I would also suggest things I've seen in other places or things where people can get engaged. I mean, stand in front of a TV and watch it. Well, okay, I learned something, but you really didn't engage in that. One of the things that impressed me in what little travel I do is being in Boston a couple of years ago. They had the letter in 3-dimensional letters sitting in their airport spelled out Boston, except it was missing the T. The whole purpose for that was so you could stand there and do that and take a selfie. Where can you do that in Roswell? And when I talked to the airport manager there in Boston, they said
Visitor center.
Yes.
Right.
The museum.
Right. Agree. That's new. And I like that. That's great. You can stand under the light that's beaming you up, right? That's awesome. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. But we don't have anything like that at the Air Center. But the manager in Boston Airport said that was the most photographed site in the whole city of Boston. That blows me away. It's where the Revolutionary War began. A lot of it took place and all of that. And that's the most photographed site. That's amazing.
So what I would recommend is because if we're going to do this approach, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it, is that but we need to have Juanita in here on this too.
Yeah.
Yes.
I agree.
We need to open it up and bring in the other people that are going to be part of that. But what it encompasses, because the wrong people sit there and say, well, you're expanding the gap. Well, it's not, because it's a team approach and we're taking the team, unification on it. But
And arguably, that's one of the advantages for us meeting here is that very same.
I agree.
We can bring it. I like that. So you guys are going to make sure that happens as we get.
Oh, we just give the ideas. We weren't.
I think my
We're
job.
just not going to do anything.
You guys do the real work. Do the real work. So, I almost hate to bring this. It's gonna happen.
Hey, I wanted to add a comment real quick to what Mike's
Okay.
point was. When Mike talks about traveling around and getting off an airplane, if you get off an airplane in Roswell, do you know that there's an A&P school there? Do you know there's the college there? Do you know that there's an aircraft painting facility? Do we know that there's MROs there? Those are the kind of things I think where Mike was going with this. When you walk off some of these airports, as you go to your bag, you pretty much know everything you need to know about the community in the process. And that's not a lot of effort to put out some type of advertising from the clientele on the airport if they wanted to put up a billboard or something that says, hey, we do this. And look, you can go to A&P school here, or just those type of things, I think is kind of a good start that's a low cost effort.
Okay.
Just when you walk in there and what can you do here? Well, I can go to A&P school or something, or go out to Bottomless Lakes. Or, I don't know, go to a winery or any of that stuff.
It's more important to me to get my bags quicker.
Well, yeah, but
There is
you
that.
could get a lot of advertising in that area for the time it takes to get your bags. There's a lot of people standing around for a while. So
We traveled last week and I made my family do carry-ons. I said, we are not going to show up here on 11 o'clock on Saturday night and wait for bags.
yeah,
So
it takes forever.
cram your clothes into a carry-on.
Yep, I totally agree with that.
That's a good point too. It's just like we had this discussion today is a lot of the residents here don't care about the airport until they have to fly out. And when they get here, all they want to do is get in, check in and check.
Exactly.
So that's another barrier we have to overcome and that's where we work with Juanita is how do we plant that seed so that everybody starts paying attention to the air center.
And she might have some plans or intentions on something, and we just know what they are.
Exactly.
That was my point, was she may have something already cooking, because I know she does stuff for the air center. I just don't, again, I don't know what's going on. And maybe my point is if you don't do something, bad on us.
All right, let the record reflect, Dr. Powell had to head to a regent meeting at 2:45. All right, what I was reluctant to go to, but we're going to have to start addressing is what we were working on close to 2 years ago, and COVID made it not critical anymore. But now with the second Phoenix flight and potential Denver is the terminal waiting area.
Yes.
The secure area. And we had looked at different options, I think 2 years ago. And I'm concerned now that this is going to ramp up again and we're going to be behind the power curve. And we're going to have some approach, even if it's a temporary structure, we park, some kind of a mobile that we park out there in the courtyard, that we connect it in some way. I'm looking for the easiest, cheapest, but most effective way to expand where we're at, because we end up with, you guys know this as it is, it's packed now.
Oh, yeah. And
With a single flight.
And if the Denver flight comes on in the spring, it's going to be 3 flights going out in the morning. So it's going to be so.
Well, just with the two that are so close, the Denver and the Phoenix, the Dallas and the Phoenix.
They're at a minimum,
Comfortable in there.
they're at a minimum separation right now of about 30 minutes. When earlier in the year, they had them 5 minutes apart. And if you flew any of those, that was unbearable. We did that years ago with Dallas and LA. They actually departed 5 minutes apart. And I flew a couple of those flights to Dallas while we were doing LA too, and same thing. And those were only 50 passenger planes. And so the room typically, was sized for that. It was sized for 100 passengers, but it was crowded then. And now we've got 15 more passengers on each plane, so another 30 people put in that room. So we're 130 people in a 100-person room. So people are standing up. So the only answer right now, without changing anything, is what we've been doing, and that's scheduling. And so, like I said, that 30-minute separation is really about the minimum. When we add that third flight, what are you going to see? Are you going to see a 6:30, a 7, and a 7:30 flight? That might be the answer for now. But I like the idea of adding on, and that's what we've been discussing. We don't have any solutions yet, but we've talked about temporary building. We talked about a sprung building or a rub building as temporary. But I think the mayor's right. We need to be moving towards some of those things.
Okay.
What capital do we have? What is our funding situation?
But yeah, it's just kind of like putting the horse before the cart is what can we pull financially and get accomplished? And that's going to be, to me, that's going to be critical. So I think we got enough to chew on for next month. We're going to have some people we're going to invite in. We're going to have some general discussions. So without adding more to this, I'm going to go around the room. Everybody has a chance to chime in. We're going to start with Mr. Conley.
Is this public comments?
Yeah, this is your public comment.
I mentioned this to you yesterday. Just thought when the senator came. Mike had his EDC luncheon out of the college.
Right.
And later we had a tour of the air school. And Denise was excellent tour guide.
Jenna, by the way, is now in charge of the aviation and automotive technology program for the university.
Okay.
She's the boss.
But that tour, now I'm fairly well informed about what happens in the sea and things like that. I have eyes and ears, but I had never been in that school, and that was damn impressive. So we should take visitors, at least drive by and show them, hey, this is the building where we have education, and have 5 minutes, just walk in and see what you got in there. Maybe the senator could find us a big plane,
We drove right by it and pointed it out to him and talked about it a little bit. We had like an hour.
Yeah, I know.
Tight.
Yeah, it was.
It was horrid.
That is damn impressive.
All right. 2 cents worth.
I don't have a lot to say. I'm just kind of here listening to see if I could get any more updates on 112, and I kind of got my answer on that. So.
No, I know.
We were kind of past the heartbreak part, been out there for 25 years. And so we're kind of regroup a little bit and gather our thoughts.
Okay.
On where we're headed next for us. So, but we appreciate the city leasing to us for the time. It was invaluable to us. So.
We've got to, we've got to get ahead of this shouldn't have happened. And that's all I'll say. We shouldn't have let it get to that point. So, of course, you can't hold that against the city because I have no authority to do anything. Right?
So I was just listening to your strategic plan work that you're doing. There's a great airport, and you may have been there or not. It's in Greensboro, North Carolina, it's GSO. And they're a mix of everything. They've got a huge MRO there. They've got aircraft manufacturing out of Honda aircraft. GSO is also an operating airport. They have schools there. They have test facilities. FedEx has a sort center on site there. So, to look at an airport that's not huge, but in the Triad area there, it's got everything you can think of in one spot there.
I like it. Good point. Okay.
I worked there for years
Okay.
in the 90s, so it's really grown. I mean, it was nothing when I got there. It was in one hangar, no FedEx, no Honda manufacturing, and none of that was there. But now it's grown, just it's incredible. There's 1,000 people working at HACO there, which was the MRO.
Eco. I don't know those guys.
Yeah, Dennis, Bill Collins, a good friend of mine, is the president of HACO there in Greensboro. Know him well, know the area well. It's a
Okay.
good facility. But also the city of Greensboro also dumped a bunch of money into that. So there's.
Did they build hangars?
Yes, they did.
They did, but there was an old US Airways at the time, had hangars there, it was over.
Okay.
HACO did. And they did build 2 huge hangars while I was there, enough to hold a DC-10 size aircraft.
Okay. Okay. Mikey?
I'm good.
Sir, good.
Very good. Anything from Dean Baldwin?
No, I'm just here to observe.
All right, you guys staying busy?
Not really busy enough right now, but it's coming in September.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Conley?
one thing I mentioned it. The city and the county have to each come up with money and put it into a pool to fix up South Main. You know, you can fix up the terminal, things like that. Drive out of the terminal and you see buildings like this. And the city put in, right now you're rich. Put in $100,000, the county put in 100,000, you got 200, and get an ad hoc committee that.
We can, the thing is, we don't have jurisdiction outside the city limits, but the county does. And I agree with you. It would be great if the county did take the lead in cleaning up along South Main. Need to keep pushing on that.
But city's gonna have to, the county, I bring it up.
I understand. My thing is this, we're cleaning up inside the city limits.
Yep.
I'd like the county commission to clean up outside the city limits.
Yep.
And I hate to be blunt, but do your job. We'll do ours.
Well.
So you can share that with anyone you want.
I know, and then they argue, well, the city has the dump and they charge exorbitant fees.
They can build their own dump.
Okay. But that takes time.
Counselor Stubbs.
No, I have nothing. I come because I feel I can't do my job as counselor if I don't know what's going on at the air center. So
All right.
I'm here.
Sir?
My name's Sean. I'm with the Experimental Aircraft Association. I also do some aviation photography. And I'm writing a story for our local newspaper on the airport.
Cool.
Airport history. So just here to give inform.
Okay.
I've been to Mojave Airport many times. I have a friend that worked at Skill Composite and worked for Bhutan. And it's interesting to contrast both airports. Good thing to contrast both airports.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a lot of the same mission.
All right, so I have 56. Our next meeting will be September 16th, excuse me. Put your glasses on, Dennis. September 16th here in the large conference room. And unless there's anything else, I will call us adjourned. Anything else, anybody? All right, 2:56. We're adjourned.
You envision the meeting's gonna be here for in the future for a while, or what's your?
Yeah, I would think so.
Let's see. That way people can just make those plans. And that's why I texted you, because I didn't know where to go.
Yeah, I wish we could go down there, but to be honest, with you, there's not enough room. And we're gonna have to do,
Yeah,
but others.
it gets more complicated.
All we need is for TSA to come in.
I know.
They'll walk in one day and we'll be in there without our mask and they won't get on y'all, they'll get on us. That's what I mean.
Yeah, they're past the warning stage. They're just finding.
Okay.
It's kind of like Goldilocks, the convention center is not big. It's a little too small, this is just right.
If we have.
Closed session. I want to talk about 112, but I'll say.
It's a good idea.
Fine.
That's a good idea.